3:05:12 local time, 22 miles north of Kermanshah. The silence of the cockpit was shattered by a digital growl. The ALR-94 radar warning receiver had detected a spike. Somewhere in the jagged shadows of the Zagros, an Iranian S-300V4 favorite battery had just gone active. It wasn't a full lock, just a predatory sniff in the dark. Viper 01 sensing a search track signal at 2 o'clock high. Transitioning to engagement geometry, the pilot muttered, his voice a flat, synthesized monotone through the comms. This was where the mathematics of death became visceral. The Raptor was traveling at 1,150 miles per hour. At this velocity, the distance between a successful mission and a multi-million-dollar crater was a function of 4 seconds and a 15-degree bank. The pilot didn't fly the plane. He managed a series of lethal variables. More he nudged the side stick, feeling the G-force press him into the seat like a giant's thumb. On the tactical display, the S-300's engagement envelope appeared as a glowing red circle, a digital no-go zone. To the average person, a SAM site is a terrifying engine of destruction. To the pilot, it was just a malfunctioning refrigerator. It had a specific humming frequency, a predictable cooling cycle, and if you hit the right spot, it simply stopped working. Master arm hot, door cycling. The F-22's internal bays snapped open for exactly 0.6 seconds, a deliberate breach of its stealth profile. 2 GBU-53/B StormBreakers dropped into the abyss. These weren't just bombs, they were 250-pound smart nodes in a network of destruction. As they fell, the bombs deployed wings and began an autonomous conversation with the Raptor's computer, calculating the optimal glide slope to impact. Suddenly, the mountain below erupted. 2 9M82 missiles tore into the sky, chasing the ghost of a signal the Raptor had left behind a mile ago. The cost exchange was laughable. Iran had just launched $10 million worth of Soviet legacy interceptors at a patch of empty air. Impact in T-15, 10, 5, splash. 2 silent flashes illuminated the peaks. The S-300's radar signature vanished instantly. The unboxing was complete. The phalanx of the Zagros had been breached not by brute force, but by a superior set of equations. 3:12:45 local time, high above the Zagros range. The destruction of the S-300 was merely the appetizer. The main course, and the reason for this $250 million ghost's presence, was much harder to digest. Deep within the granite veins of the mountains, Iran's missile cities were breathing. Finding a Shahab-3 transporter erector launcher, TEL, in this terrain is the ultimate needle in a haystack problem. Except the needle is radioactive and the haystack is made of 1,000 meters of solid rock. In the Pentagon's tactical manuals, these TELs are described with a grim, colloquial irony. They are death food trucks. They don't serve tacos or falafel. Their menu consists of 16-meter-long ballistic missiles tipped with high explosive or chemical warheads, all pre-programmed for a one-way trip to Tel Aviv. Like a high-end food truck in a busy city, they never stay in one spot for long. They emerge from a dark hole, serve their lethal cargo, and vanish before the health inspectors. In this case, a pair of GPS-guided JDAMs can arrive. Inside the F-22, the pilot watched the countdown to irrelevance on his glass cockpit. The APG-77 radar was working overtime, filtering through terabytes of ground clutter. It was a battle of sensors versus stone. The Iranian commanders knew the math. They played a deadly game of hide-and-seek where the stakes were measured in megatons and the tax dollars of Midwestern Americans. Viper 01, target alpha identified. Thermal bloom detected at grid 44R-SQ. The kitchen is open. The pilot felt a cold shiver of adrenaline. He wasn't just a warrior, he was a mathematician executing a terminal equation. He had 12 minutes before the food truck finished its delivery. In the world of 2026, war wasn't about courage. It was about who had the faster processor and the tighter integration of calculus and kinetic energy. 3:25 local time. The electronic frontier. The second phase of the operation didn't begin with a roar of jet engines, but with a series of digital whispers. This was the Lucas Trap, a tactical masterclass designed not by a fighter pilot, but by a group of Silicon Valley-style defense contractors with a dark sense of humor. From a nondescript cargo plane orbiting 100 miles away, a swarm of 12 Lucas drones was released. At $35,000 a unit, these suicide decoys were essentially carbon fiber shells wrapped around a high-output signal emulator and a turbocharged engine that sounded like a glorified lawnmower. To a human eye, they looked like expensive toys. To the Iranian SA-65 Salamander radar operators, they looked like a wave of BGM-109 Tomahawk cruise missiles screaming toward their command centers at 500 knots. To step 1, the bait. As the Lucas drones crossed the threshold of the Zagros foothills, their emulators went loud. They broadcasted the exact radar cross-section, RCS, of a multi-million-dollar cruise missile. They weren't just flying, they were shouting, "I am a high-value target," into the Iranian electronic ether. Below, the Iranian defense network panicked. The SA-65 batteries, usually silent and hidden, began to bloom. One by one, their search and track radars flicked on, illuminating the dark mountains like dozens of digital flashlights in a pitch-black cave. Step 2. The net. High above the chaos, at 65,000 feet, the RQ-180 White Bat, the Pentagon's most classified stealth asset, sat in silent judgment. Using its broad-spectrum ELINT, electronic intelligence sensors, the RQ-180 didn't just watch the radars, it cataloged them. Every time an SA-65 battery fired, it revealed its exact GPS coordinates. More importantly, the RQ-180's synthetic aperture radar, SAR, watched the mountainside. To reload these SAMs, the Iranian crews had to slide open massive granite doors leading to their underground magazines. For the F-22 pilot, this was the cataloging phase. On his MFD, the map of Kermanshah was no longer a mystery. It was a digital spreadsheet. Every open bunker door, every hidden vent, every active radar site was being geotagged with sub-centimeter precision. The mathematics of death was being written in real time. Step 3. The cost exchange warfare. This is where the irony of modern warfare becomes a ledger book tragedy. The Iranian commander, fearing a Tomahawk strike, gave the order to fire. 2 SA-65 Interceptors, each a masterpiece of Russian-Iranian engineering costing roughly $1.2 million, streaked into the sky. They successfully intercepted 2 Lucas drones. In the Pentagon's view, this wasn't just a tactical success, it was a financial assassination. This is cost exchange warfare. Before the first American explosive even touches the ground, the US military uses its strategic credit card to bankrupt the enemy's defense inventory. Every missile Iran fired at a bait drone was a missile they wouldn't have when the actual strike package arrived. Viper 01, the ledger is balanced. The net is full. Target Alpha, Beta, and Gamma are geotagged. Yar's permission to execute the unboxing protocol. The pilot adjusted his grip on the stick. The Lucas trap had worked perfectly. The Iranian defenses had traded their most valuable assets for pieces of cheap plastic and hobbyist-grade electronics. In the cold calculus of 2026, the Americans hadn't just outflown the enemy, they had outspent them, one winged lawnmower at a time. 3:32:15 local time. Grid 44R-SQ, the point of no return. The target was finally cooked. Deep in a granite scar on the western face of the Zagros, a Shahab 3 Tel had reached the 27th minute of its 30-minute window. The 16-meter ballistic missile was now vertical, its nose cone pointing toward the stars, its tanks shivering as thousands of gallons of volatile liquid fuel surged into its belly. To the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC crew, this was their moment of asymmetric triumph. To the sensors of the F-22 Raptor hovering 40,000 feet above, it was a terminally static variable. The Raptor didn't fire. In the world of cost exchange warfare, the F-22 is the quarterback, not the lineman. Using Link 16, a digital handshake occurring at the speed of light, the F-22 transmitted a packet of encrypted targeting data to an F-15 E-Strike Eagle loitering 60 miles away, safely outside the reach of any remaining Iranian man-pads. Viper 01 to Hammer 06. Data handshake complete. Target validated. Delivery authorized. Break the lid. On the F-15E, the Weapons Systems Officer, WSO, didn't need to see the mountain. He only needed to trust the math. A 2,000-pound GBU-31V3/BJDAM, the heavyweight champion of bunker busters, slipped from its pylon. For a split second, it was just a dead weight, a ton of steel and tritonal explosive falling through the thin, cold air. Then, the calculus of gravity took over. The JDAM's tail kit woke up. Its 4 aerodynamic fins began to twitch, making microscopic adjustments 10 times per second. It wasn't flying in the way a bird does, it was a falling computer solving a geometry problem. Guided by a constellation of GPS satellites, the bomb ignored the TEL entirely. It wasn't interested in the truck, it was interested in the vulnerability coefficient of the cave's ceiling. The GBU-31 struck at a 75-degree angle of incidence. This wasn't a bang on impact, it was a surgical insertion. The hardened steel nose, designed to withstand pressures that would liquefy a normal car, punched through 2 meters of reinforced concrete and ancient granite as if they were layers of stale cake. There was a brief, terrifying silence, the 0.05-second delay of the FMU-143 fuse, allowing the kinetic energy to carry the warhead deep into the cavern's throat. Then, the mathematics of punishment reached its sum. The explosion didn't just happen, it was contained. The granite walls, once a fortress, now acted as the walls of a giant pressure cooker. The 2,000-pound blast wave had nowhere to go. It rebounded off the rock, amplified by the confined space, creating a thermal spike of 3,000 degrees Celsius. The Shahab-3 missile, still tethered to its fuel lines, didn't stand a chance. Its own fuel, the very lifeblood of its mission, became its executioner. A secondary detonation, 5 times more powerful than the JDAM, ripped through the mountain. A pillar of white-hot fire erupted from the cave entrance, a 200-meter blowtorch that incinerated everything within the food truck's radius. Hammer 06, Splash Alpha, the kitchen is officially closed. Confirming 0 millimetric deviation. Inside the F-22, White the pilot watched the thermal bloom fade on his MFD. There was no joy, only the cold satisfaction of a solved equation. The Iranian taxpayers had spent millions on a fortress that the US Air Force had just turned into a very expensive, very deep tomb using a $30,000 tail kit and a bit of high school physics. 4 o'clock local time, high above the Zagros range. The sky over Kermanshah didn't turn blue. It turned a bruised, oily purple, lit from below by the orange glow of a dozen subterranean suns. The Zagros Mountains, once the silent sentinels of the Islamic Republic, were now vibrating with the low-frequency hum of tectonic failure. This was the final tally of the find-out phase. Within 24 hours of the first Raptor spike, the calculus was undeniable. 60% of the IRGC's strategic launch capacity in western Iran had been buried alive under millions of tons of their own fortifications. Inside the cockpit of Viper 01, the pilot watched the battle space reset. On his MFD, the glowing red icons of the S-300 batteries and Shahab-3 TELs had flickered and died, replaced by the cold, gray, null symbols of confirmed destruction. Depart. There was no adrenaline now, only the mechanical satisfaction of a closed loop. This was the ultimate expression of cost exchange warfare. As the F-22 banked gently toward the west, leaving no thermal wake for the blind Iranian radars to chase, the pilot allowed himself a momentary, cynical thought about the world below. Somewhere in Tehran, a group of high-ranking engineers was currently staring at a mountain that had just become a $500 million tomb. They were learning a brutal lesson in applied geology. Granite is the hardest rock in the Middle East, but it is infinitely softer than the collective will of the American taxpayer. There is a dark, recurring joke in the corridors of the Pentagon. Like a piece of beyond military irony that defines the 21st century, explosions are the reason American children don't get free dental care. Every GBU-31 that had just turned a Shahab-3 into scrap metal represented a choice. The billions of dollars spent on the stealth coding of this Raptor, the thousands of hours of code in the Lucas drones, and the satellite bandwidth used to geotag those bunkers. All of it was a withdrawal from a national bank account that could have funded universal healthcare or socialized dentistry. But in the cold arithmetic of 2026, the United States had decided that a perfect set of teeth was less important than ensuring that not a single enemy missile could see the sun tomorrow. The strategic credit card had been swiped, and the debt was settled in high explosives and kinetic geometry. Viper 01, mission profile complete, all primary nodes neutralized, returning to the barn. The Raptor accelerated, crossing the border at Mach 1.8 without the need for afterburners. A ghost returning to its haunted house. Behind it, the food trucks were incinerated, the kitchen was a crater, and the IRGC's ballistic dreams were nothing more than thermal anomalies on a sensor screen. The find-out phase was over. The math was done. Today was a very bad day to be an Iranian missile soldier. Bye for now.